Welcome to the Real Life Buyer podcast. In this podcast, you will hear interviews with business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, authors, and technical specialists in their field. These professionals will hasten your development, accelerate your career, and broaden your business know-how. Now, introducing your host, Dave Barr, interviewing with a purchasing twist.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Life Buyer. Have you always wished that you had the confidence and competence to share your message and demonstrate your skills and talents to the world, but have never been able to act upon it? Being able to communicate to large audiences, I believe, takes considerable skill, planning, and self-belief. My guest today, Amy Scruggs, became a Nashville recording artist in 2004. And she has some latest music out now, Love Another Day, an EP released only last year, and a single, What If It All Goes Right? And that's charted worldwide. In 2007, Amy Scruggs Media was launched, offering media and communications coaching. And in 2021, Amy became the best-selling author of Lights, Camera, Action, media consulting for any professional in today's digital world. And for the past 5 years, Amy has also been a TV host, appearing on many US national shows. So this outstanding experience enables her to help her clients to present and communicate a concise and professional message, be that on TV, in podcasts, social media, or public speaking events. And so today, we will be discussing her journey and how you too may overcome your fears and present with confidence to your dream audience. So without further ado, I welcome Amy onto the podcast. Hi, Amy.
It is such an honor to be with you. Thank you so much for that gracious introduction.
Well, it's a testimony to how much you've achieved. So I'm certainly not embarrassed by letting people know just a flavor of what you've managed to do over such a short period of time. So let me dive in. So I know our time is precious. You clearly have an amazing story to share, but I suspect you've had some obstacles and some setbacks along the way. Can you give us a taste of the journey, shall we say, and the challenges you have fought and overcome over the years?
Yes, and I do promise to keep this to the brief version. And it really comes down to one word, and it's shift, because life throws things at us. Economies crumble. And that's an example of what took place for me multiple times. I started in the business world in the mortgage and real estate profession in 2001. And I learned very quickly how effective communication was going to allow me to succeed in that industry, and being comfortable in front of other professionals and in the boardrooms. That really was a success model for me, being able to speak and be comfortable in front of professionals and ask for that business. But in 2007, it collapsed, especially here in the US, it collapsed on us. And that industry that I relied on to support me and my children disappeared. And there's the shift. You have to say, am I going to drown in this, or am I going to continue to move forward and find new ways to retool? And I had been performing my entire life, always singing, had gone to Nashville and started recording during that time. So I decided to take the same business skills, the same communication skills, and I went and asked for the business as a recording artist, and it worked. And so I spent the next 7 years touring as a recording artist and recreating my success model in that. And what I loved is it was my passion. The kids came with me. We had incredible experiences opening for some of the biggest names here in the US in country music. And also 3 years of that, I was honored to be the spokesperson for the American veterans for the state of California. And we dedicated an entire time to performing for all military veteran events. It was absolutely life-changing work that we were able to experience, and then stepped back into the business world when it kind of reopened up and combined those careers to where I'm still performing. I'm still an advocate for our veterans. I was able to now help other business professionals in business development and communication. And then I was asked to host a national TV show that was about entrepreneurship and business and veterans and multiple shows. And so it was really this incredible opportunity to say, how can I keep shifting and using what I've learned and add them to the tool belt to keep evolving into really what my highest and best skill sets are and how I can be the most value. And here I sit today, and I'm so grateful.
It's a fantastic journey. And as I said, in such a short period of time. Now, I'm hoping to learn an awful lot from you today, and I'm sure everybody else is as well. So if we start a little bit on public speaking. Now, I'm very familiar with doing business presentations, and people are becoming more and more commonplace now with webinars, and that can be extremely stressful. Now, but you've sung to live audiences. Now, I can't kind of imagine how that feels. And then speaking on camera, that's for me taking things to a whole new level.
Yes.
So can you tell us about how you first felt when you appeared at concert venues and on the TV, and what techniques you used to become more comfortable in those extremely stressful situations?
Well, the one thing I want to point out is that I am still human. So there was still that factor, especially in the first TV appearances, where I was like, well, that I don't think that was very pleasant. Listening to myself in the first radio interviews and being honest and evaluating myself and going, all right, well, there's some room for improvement. I definitely learned by fire. Now, the performing in front of a live audience, that part started for me at 5 years old. So that was very comfortable. Something in me just knew that I felt very comfortable in that space, that this was a moment that I loved the feel that I would get back from a live audience. Fast forwarding into the time of touring, again, very comfortable in front of a live audience. You can thrive on that energy. But when I had to learn to sit down in front of a television camera and then give that same energy, there was that learning curve for me. And at least I had the intellectual honesty to evaluate myself and say, okay, there's continual room for improvement. And then I loved putting myself out there. I wasn't afraid of failing. I was worried about the regret of not trying or giving up. And it was a really fun process to evaluate myself. It's not easy. And the same thing as I work with clients now. This is not pleasant. We're going to really do an honest deep dive, but you have to be willing to do it for yourself. I can't fix it for you, but we can work on this together. It's a journey. I had to fix that for myself. I didn't have an Amy. And so learning how to do that. And then the ultimate hot seat was when I was asked to host a television show 6 years ago. That was a whole different experience. Now there really are multiple cameras in the room. And each interview was anywhere between 4 to 6 minutes. So that means this was unscripted. I had to do a quick intro and outro, know my talking points as quickly as possible. So I gave each guest the maximum of that 5 minutes that they were going to get, because if I took up all that time, there wasn't anything left for them. So learning how to be concise, using my vocabulary to make the point, and being an excellent listener, and then watching the tape. And that's what we can talk about a little bit is my biggest advice on how to really take on that next level. But that's where I learned in the driver's seat.
The thing that jumps out, obviously, to myself is that fear of making a mistake, the humiliation in front of a massive audience. Saying the wrong words, stumbling over your words. Is that a fear that you still feel inside now, or have you really just moved on and overcome anything like that?
I'll be honest. Yes, of course. I'm human. Again, I'm about to speak on a huge stage in a couple of weeks, and I already feel the nerves and the preparation and planning to say, okay, I need to make sure that I'm really polished and ready, because it can throw you off. If you say the wrong thing or something doesn't land right, it can cause you to lose your momentum for the rest of the message. So those self-gauge tools to say, how do I pick myself up? Same if an athlete or a runner falls in the middle of the race, you have to pick yourself back up. It's the same learned techniques on how do I pick myself back up and get back on track. And that comes from the practice. If I've practiced this, I know my talking points, then if I do fall, I can get back up quicker because I do remember what the path was and where I was going with this. But I definitely still get those nerves. I'm human. I still get the nerves if I sing the national anthem at a stadium. Those before camera nerves are real, because I think I take very seriously what it is I'm doing. Whether I'm speaking, it's usually on a great, important, and inspirational topic, or helping professionals to level up. If I'm singing, that's the passion. That's the kid in me that it loves doing it. And I have forgotten lyrics on stage, too. Let me tell you, my kids tease me because it never fails. If I'm singing, I'll be like, how'd that start again? What? And it could be a song we wrote, I'll forget. So I definitely have done that. I've learned to laugh it off a little bit. And then I'll get the audience to laugh with me like, hey, it's one of those days. Look, I'm blonde. And I'll make a joke about it, because everybody has those moments. So if we can give ourselves some grace and give each other grace, then collectively we can all grow and level up in this area.
Cool. You just mentioned something there, and it just triggered a thought in my mind about singing the national anthem.
Yes.
Now, I can't imagine the pressure that you feel under that. Do you almost have to pretend it's you singing in front of the mirror or something and ignore all the people around you? Is that a useful technique?
I think I did that when I was learning it when I was younger. Yes. But as I've gotten older, what has changed for me was tapping into the experiences that I have had while performing that national anthem. For example, the times that I've stood and sung that at a deployment ceremony as I watched soldiers take off and say goodbye to their loved ones. The times that I've sung it at a coming home ceremony when they're now reunited. When I've sung in front of wounded warriors that have just returned wounded and I'm now singing the national anthem to them. So where I go now is remembering that why. What are the lyrics in that? What is it about? Because let's take politics have nothing to do with this. This has to do with honoring those that went out and sacrificed, regardless. And so I can put myself in that position of saying, I want to be a blessing right now. I want to honor those that I'm singing to. And I take at least 10 minutes before I sing the national anthem of complete silence. Even if I'm in a stadium, I will go find a corner under the dugout, whatever I have to do to get into that reverent stage, to remember why I'm doing it. And then I walk out and I take that deep cleansing breath and I say, Amy, you were trained for this. This is what you've practiced for. Go honor them right now. And every time then it's just such a joy how it flows out. And it really does take out the nerves to remember the why, which is the same in anything that we're doing. If we're on a great podcast like you're doing today, somebody comes on, they're there to share their business. They're there to share their passion or their joy. Then come in and ignore that camera by remembering, why am I here? And it can really override those nerves.
That's really interesting. It's almost sounds like a little bit of premeditation, a composure session where you clear your mind and, as you say, focus on what it's all about. That's an interesting tip.
I still do that. I cleared my mind 5 minutes before we came on for this interview so that I brought you 100% of me, that anything else I was doing is now clear, it's set aside, and I know that I want to come in and bring my best and be of value to you and respect you as the host and respect all of your amazing listeners that are watching this and listening to this. That's
really good. That's a great tip in itself. So thank you for sharing that. Now, the other thing that jumps out on video isn't my favorite moment, shall we say, even if I'm doing a little personal video for obviously social media. And I find that when you're under the spotlight of the camera, it's not unusual for your brain to freeze and disconnect from your mouth. Okay.
I see it all the time.
Exactly. You almost have that moment. They just become completely separate entities. So how do you coach people to relax, speak naturally, fluently, and with confidence when you're under the camera pressure and that moment's occurring?
Well, first, I remind anyone and everyone that this is normal, that this is the number one most common thing, is that everyone gets nervous in front of that camera and says, ew, is that how I look? Is that how I sound? So let's clear the plate and say you are no different than anyone else, myself included. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's go with some techniques. And first of all, if you're going to turn the camera on, even for a phone video, for a social media post, think first about what are the key components of what you want to say. Let's keep it brief. What is it I want to say? I want to say this, this, and this. Or maybe I only want to say one thing. Think about that. Meditate on it for a minute and just practice it to yourself for just a moment. Then when you turn on the camera, you don't feel like you have to kind of fumble and bumble. What am I going to say today? You're like, yes, I'm here today to share this. As you can see, I'm in this setting and I'm proud to show this. Or here's a great tip of the day that I have for you from whatever your business craft is. Think about what you're going to say. Here's my other advice on this, because I know a lot of people, this is the case. It doesn't get better after the 5th take or the 6th take or the 7th take. It tends to go downhill.
Yeah.
So what I always share is my philosophy of take 2 and toss 1. Get in the habit of taking 2 recordings of what it is you want to do. You have to choose one of them and you have to delete one of them. And if you make this habit of doing that over and over again, before you know it, you realize you're getting easier at it. You had to choose one of them, live with it, it's okay. And then now do that again. Before you know it, you might not even need to take 2. It becomes a new daily habit of getting comfortable and realizing I'm going to get my best out of 1 or 2 of these takes. I'm going to decide the one I want, and that's the one I'm going to send.
Brilliant. Now, the next thing that occurs to me, particularly myself, when I'm under pressure, and you may have noticed, is my pace of speech increases. I speak quicker.
Myself as well.
Okay, that's good. We've got an alignment there. Now, some people, and I think of people like Barack Obama when I'm thinking of this, seem to be the masters of the pause and the pace at which they speak. Now, what's a good guideline and what's a great tip for kind of getting that right?
A big part of that is taking out the filler words. There's a big habit that I notice with most individuals and professionals of using the filler words to launch into the next sentence. And so And what happens then is there's no breathing room, and it's a stall tactic. By taking the word out and choosing to make it a breath, you've instantly added those pauses. It is literally comes down to vocabulary. And as I say, start a sentence with a sentence. If you wouldn't write it in an email, then don't start your sentence that way. I've never read an email from a professional that says, yeah, so what I'm here to talk about today is.
Yep.
So think about, how would I start this sentence? And that naturally will allow for that pause to go in, because you have to think about a poignant sentence to start with. And it's a brilliant technique that will completely change the way you deliver your message.
That's very useful. It's got me thinking there. Okay, right. I've been wondering about the first step in becoming a confident presenter. And that possibly, and I think you're projecting this to me, is you are very self-aware.
Yes.
Now, do you think exploring, correcting, and mastering your own body language, those facial expressions, the mannerisms, the speech, and that's trouble is, which we're often unaware of,
Yes.
is the true pathway to becoming confident? It's taking those videos of yourself, playing them back, and realizing who and what you are?
It's absolutely the critical ingredient to the success. You have to know what you're representing, what your resting face looks like, what your deliverables are coming out of your body language. What are your most common words? How are you representing? How is your face looking while you're doing it? If we look out of our eyes, right? How do we learn ourselves if we never bother to watch the tape, look in a mirror? And so there's some really strategic exercises in building that self-awareness. And it could even start with just the ones closest to you in your home by just saying, hey, what is my face saying right now? And then be prepared for the honest answer. Because this type of self-awareness and communication not only helps you professionally, but let me tell you, it's going to make a difference inside your home, because there's not going to be an inconsistency as to what you're representing and what you actually mean. Self-awareness is the key ingredient. You have to watch the tape. I watch back and listen back to everything that I do. And then in all of my clients, it's my job to watch everything they do and listen to what they do so that I can memorize them to find out what their key filler words are. Where are their inflections? How are they representing? What are my takeaways from that? And it's a really beautiful process. It takes dedication and it takes time and it takes a true desire to be honest with yourself. But why not? Why not improve in this area and have it impact every area of your life? It's magical.
Yeah, that's really thought-provoking as well for me, because I remember when I first started doing the podcast and I got used to hearing myself, and it took a long time. I hated myself for quite a while. And even now, I wouldn't say it's not the most joyous experience listening to myself, but it's not so horrible. As you say, playing back the videos and seeing what you do is somewhat eye-opening. You don't realize half the things you do you?
Yes.
So, crazy.
And it is your voice. It's the one you're using and taking out. It's the one you take to the store. It's the one you speak to your loved ones. It is the same voice. We have to get comfortable with it. And as I say to my guests when I'm doing my public speaking, I didn't see anyone come into this room with a bag over their head. It's all your faces. You walked in here with them. Let's start getting comfortable with it.
Walk into the room with a bag on your head. That's really good. I love
It's
that.
no different than being on camera. It's the same face.
Yep. Brilliant. Now, there are a number of people, and I used to be one, and possibly still am at times, who are what we call mumblers.
Yes.
Okay. And now, how can we master the art of clear and effective projection, both when you're interacting with others, obviously just even friends and family? Perhaps that's the worst time when you're unaware of how you're projecting, but also when you're presenting to people that matter.
Yes.
How do you break out the mumbling habit?
I love that. The mumbling and the rambling. I put them together. The mumblers and the ramblers belong in one beautiful category. A great exercise to start doing if you want to really know if you're a mumbler is start reading out loud to yourself. I don't care if you're reading the cereal box or ingredients to a rice packet or a profound book. Read out loud and start listening to how you're speaking and what's coming out. Then ask others to listen. Record yourself. Turn the Zoom on at your desk and record yourself while you're on a phone call with somebody else, and then watch it back. It's going to be eye-opening. You're going to find out if you're a mumbler or a rambler, and then you can start making those adjustments. Start working with where the words are coming out in your mouth, how you're phrasing things, how you articulate. But again, it comes back to ingredient number one, is the self-awareness. And there are plenty of technologies at our fingertips now that can allow us to see it. Our cell phones, our Zoom, we can record ourselves in any shape or form that we want to right now. Remember when we were younger and it had to be that old cassette recorder with the little microphone thing that plugged into it? I mean, it was not easy to be self-aware before the technology we have today. But today, there's no more excuses. We can all do it. We can all level up.
Okay. Now, before I came onto this, believe it or not, I was saying things like red lorry, yellow lorry to sort of warm up, and Peter picked a, whatever it is, a pickled peppers, etc. Now, is that a useful thing to do to help to limber yourself up, get your voice and your lips moving to help you deliver things in a clearer way?
Yes. Anytime that you can practice some articulation techniques to help you be awake and aware. Also, exercising the jaw muscles, doing, massage on your jawline so that you're opening up those muscles and having your face kind of open up more and allowing room for you to articulate and broaden up the space of where that sound is coming out in your mouth. And our voices are a muscle, so we can work on where in our voice we're pronouncing what we're doing. We can be up in that high voice where I could kind of come up into a high voice or go down into my low command voice, but we can play with our different voices and find where am I the most articulate and where can I really present my best self. And it's fun to start really realizing that you can retrain your voice. We can retrain our minds. We can retrain our bodies. We are amazing built creatures. Our brains can train us to do anything we put our mind to.
Brilliant. So I'll just ask one more thing on that subject. I used to, when I was young, believe it or not, be in a choir. And I feel that at that time, my voice obviously was being exercised, and
Yes.
I probably spoke in a clearer way. Would you say combining the red lorry, yellow lorry, and kind of singing, really using your vocal cords is another good way of developing your voice?
Do you want to know a trick? And this is something as a professional singer, singing is easier on your voice and less strain than talking. I'm actually having a more difficult time with my voice lately because I speak for a living and I talk for a living. When I was singing full time, my voice was stronger and healthier. Singing strengthens the muscles and uses the voice in a much easier way than talking does. And I have to be very careful because I tend to get strained vocal cords and it's from all the talking. So yes, if you can sing, it's actually going to be better for you.
Brilliant. I guess that's because your voice is going low to high on a regular basis when you're singing. But if we're talking like we are now, that sort of, yeah, exactly. You're in a...
It's aggravating that same core area. Correct.
Yeah. No, perfect.
So start singing, open the windows and let the neighbors know.
Oh, there might be some public disorder things coming through, but there we go. Okay. Another thing on public speaking events, I'm thinking of business meetings particularly. Now, we have the dreaded PowerPoint. Now, people often, I see it very often, look at the screen and try and talk to the audience at the same time whilst reading what is on the PowerPoint presentation. And it's very difficult then to engage with the audience and conversely,
Yes.
the audience engage with them. That's almost like a self-comfort for some people because they won't lose their thread. So how do you teach clients to present whilst at the same time interacting with the audience? And how do you avoid that, or where did I get to moment when you haven't got the script in front of you?
Let me answer this concisely. It is a privilege to be on any stage, whether it's in front of 5 people in a boardroom or 5,000 people on a stage. Anytime that we are given an opportunity to present to others, it's a privilege. It shows that somebody believed in us, believed that we had credibility and have capability to be presenting whatever it is we are presenting to them. That being said, it's critical that you know your material and that you practice. It shows respect to prepare. It shows honor to prepare and say, I've practiced this. I know my talking points. Yes, I'm going to glance. I may glance and point to the PowerPoint and then engage with my audience, but it's my job to know what's in it. It's my job to know what message it is I'm trying to send. And if I lose my place, what a great opportunity to maybe throw in a short story or something that's going to get me back on track or get the audience to reconnect with me. Because it is more important that I have audience connection than I worry about staying on point with my slides. And what is my overall message and what is the takeaways that I'm hoping that they leave with from my being up there? It's my job to know that inside and out. And if somebody's really not ready to fully prepare, then maybe it's better that you wait, let somebody else have a turn, have yourself prepared, and then take your opportunity. It's a respect level to everyone involved.
Brilliant. Absolutely agree. I'm rather obsessive about preparing before most of the things I do. And that's, I wanted to touch on this now. When people say preparing, is there any context you can put around that? Because, my preparation will be quite some lengthy time. I don't, especially meeting people like you who are very busy. For me, not prepare for this podcast would be disgraceful. Now, what would you say is a measure of a good level of preparation? It's not a 5-minute event. What do you think is a sensible thing? Put some framework around it if you could for me.
Start off with looking at your presentation, whatever it's about. And does it have a beginning, a middle, and an end? Everything, whether we're speaking, whether we're presenting, whether we're doing an interview, we share where we've been, what gave us the credibility to be here, what is the key ingredients and the message in the middle, that's the teaching point, and what is the inspiration or takeaway or call to action that it is. What are those 3 components? Now break those down into some bullet points, then put it together. And I'm a stickler on stopwatching a presentation. And even as a recording artist, when I was given the privilege of being on the national stages to open for the major artists, if they told me I had 30 minutes, that meant 30 minutes, not 30 and a half and not 32, or I'd be out of contract. And when I put my show together as an artist, we stopwatched our rehearsals with the band. We need to take 2 measures out of that guitar solo because it's going to run us over. I need another 30 seconds to introduce the band at this point. So I'm going to have you do the music underlay so we can maximize our time and make sure we get through these songs. We stopwatched our presentation, and it showed respect to the venue that we were performing for, and we were always asked back. And the same thing if you're presenting in business or you're presenting and speaking, stopwatch it, time it. Where are those breaks? Where are the pauses? Where's the message? Where's the storytelling? And put it together like a great recipe. You wouldn't start a recipe to make a great meal at the back end. You have to follow the steps and see, how is this going to time out? You wouldn't turn on the oven 3 hours before it goes in. You wouldn't leave it in too long. Think about your presentation the same way you would put together a great meal, and follow the steps and make sure it's on point.
Brilliant. I haven't thought about using a stopwatch. And you're right. There are some people who you've booked a half-hour meeting, even just in the respect of a Teams meeting or Zoom or whatever, and you don't even get halfway through the materials and the time's run out. So I really
That's poor planning.
Get that. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, things happen. People will ask questions that weren't planned, or it might be more of a fluid meeting where everybody's allowed to interject. That's going to happen. But if you've committed to a certain amount of time, then we need to be respectful of that time to the best of our ability.
Perfect. Now, that's brought me into an ideal time where I mentioned a live event. Now, people are doing more webinars now. You're the host, you're bringing people in, you're not sure how it's going to go. Is there a good way to prepare for something like that when you really don't know what's going to happen?
I would use the same technique in preparing as if you were going to be on a public speaking stage. It's still the same presentation, even though it's a live webinar. And then you want to speak to that camera as if it is a live audience. And some of them we can see our audience, where you can see all the little squares in the tile and you're able to kind of get some feedback, but you have to go to a place in your head that you visualize everybody. Like right now, I'm looking straight into the camera. I have been feeling your energy and hearing your voice, but I haven't been looking at you. And the same would be with a webinar. I have to picture their engagement. And if I can create energy, then I know that they're probably giving it back. If I'm withdrawn, if I'm a deer in a headlight, or I'm not bringing that energy, I can pretty much guarantee everybody on the other side of the camera is probably doing the same thing. So practice, bring in your energy, and convince yourself in your mind, this is a live audience and I'm going to treat it no different.
Excellent. So I've got one more question for you. But before I go into that, now I'm sure people are really intrigued to know more about yourself. So where should they go to get the best flavor of you at some of the learning experiences that you can share?
I'm the easiest person to find. If you Google Amy Scruggs, you cannot miss me. But it's Amy Scruggs Media. My social handles are all Amy Scruggs and Amy Scruggs Media. But if you go to amyscruggsmedia.com, it's all there. You can reach me through the website. It comes right to me. And also, if you direct message to any of the social channels, I will see it, maybe a day or two, but I will get to you. And I'm very accessible, and I love helping professionals of all industries to level up and realize that effective communication and finding that self-awareness can not only change your business, change your community, but also probably within your own house as well. And it's such a reward to see that happen in people's lives.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So the last question. Now, over the last few years, because of the things that have happened in the world, people are using, we said, Zoom and Teams and things like that much more. Now, I'm quite intrigued from a professional perspective. How do you see presenting changing in the next decade? Thinking of VR technology, for example. What are your thoughts on future presentations and expectations?
I like this question. So thank you for allowing me to think about this for a moment. First of all, I think we're seeing too much of individuals who maybe are not prepared. So we kind of have to weed through a lot more to find those that are really vetted and qualified and professionally doing it. So I think that we have to do a little more due diligence on the ones that we're choosing to be involved with and where we're putting ourselves, or else we can be sucked up in time in so many virtual presentations that we're not actually running our businesses. So I think that there's just going to be an influx and we're inundated. And there is incredible content out there, incredible leaders, and incredible virtual opportunities. So definitely take that. I'm thankful for this technology and the global awareness that we have to connect like this together. But be selective. Make sure you take a look. If there's a sample, you can go to their website and see anything from the past. Make sure it's the right fit for you to be a part of. And if it's you leading it, then make sure you have your presentation and your talking points ready. And maybe even get a little coaching beforehand so you can maximize your success from anyone that specializes in this.
Right, that's quite interesting. One of the things that jumped into my head, I tend to watch a lot of Tony Robbins' work, and because of obviously the events with the pandemic and such, he wasn't able to do those kind of live events. And he's on the stage and doing all his other stuff. And he went to I don't know if you've seen it, but all those hundreds and hundreds of screens with everybody on. That was quite a step forward. I believe he's invested an awful lot of money into those events now, but people weren't needing to travel, obviously, and they can all come on.
Yes.
Do you see that becoming something that is more of a normal though? Do you even feel that concerts in the way they are now could change with the live audiences?
I think what it's done is present a great opportunity to still do a virtual concert, attend a virtual concert, or attend a virtual super mastermind event like that. But there's so many that also still want that in person. What I love is the option kind of for that hybrid. We'll see a lot of the concerts offer a virtual along with those that are in person. So I think it's expanded our audience in a beautiful way so that those of us maybe who somebody can't travel, they can't leave the kids, but they want to be a part of that event. What a beautiful opportunity to do so. And because thankfully the world's opened up and allowed us to go back in person, we can do that as well. I think this hybrid way of doing it is going to only grow and enhance on bigger levels. And I think that it's a wonderful combination now that we have, I think as a society, figured it out.
Brilliant. Well, for me, it's been an absolute thrill and pleasure to have you on the podcast today. I really do appreciate the amount of information you've shared in such a short period of time. So
this was fun. I hope I passed the test. I feel like I want a grade at the end of this.
I'll send you an A star immediately. No, it has been fantastic. I'm going to listen to this a few times now, and I'm sure everybody else with. So thank you for your time. I know it's very precious to you, and I do appreciate you coming onto my podcast.
It was an honor to be with you. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks, and bye. So there's another Real Life Buyer podcast. I do hope you enjoyed it and it's given you some ideas and inspiration for greater action and achievement. If you are a purchasing or a supply chain professional, business owner or director, come and join my Facebook group, the Purchasing and Supply Chain Community Hub, a safe place to engage with like-minded, friendly people. See you soon. Bye.